This is task 2C part 1, where you're asked to create a leasing model worksheet. Before we start this, we need to look at the question. So let's have a look on the right hand side. The instructors need to be able to see how much they'll be paying over the full term of the lease. And we've got an example of data that they would have to input. Now if we have a look at this, the term is how long the lease is for, 4 years. The APR is a percentage rate. Now this is a rate that would be charged per year, but you're going to be told that they're actually charged every 2 months. That's what we'd call bi-monthly. And therefore we need to divide this amount by 6 to give us the percentage rate that will be charged for each payment. The lease amount is how much they want to borrow. Now we could get this from the previous worksheet, the pricing model, because we have the lease required down here. But the question is actually wanting this to be entered separately. I then want you to calculate some payments. First of all, there's going to be the planned monthly payment. This is the amount that's going to have to be paid, not monthly, sorry, but every 2 months, bi-monthly. Now it's quite a complicated calculation, and we need to use a function called PMT. And what this will do is if we put in the interest rate, that'll be the bi-monthly interest rate. So that's the APR, the annual percentage rate, divided by 6 because it's every 2 months. And then we put the number of payments, well there's 6 payments per year, and then we'll have the term, the number of years. And the loan amount, which is the lease, if we can put that into a function, we'll be able to calculate the planned payment. The bonus payment is something that the leasing company will pay. They'll pay off the lease themselves to 20% of the planned payment if the planned payment is made on time. That's obviously to encourage them to pay on time. And the total payment is those 2 payments added together. So that's how much will be paid off the lease every 2 months. So we've got to create a new worksheet and then put in some data. So let's start by creating the new worksheet down here at the bottom. And we're told to call this the leasing model. I think it would make sense as well for us to have a title of leasing model. I'm just going to make the screen a bit bigger so that we can see everything that we need to put in. So the first thing really to do is start putting in the data, the space of the variables and where we're going to put the calculations. So we need space of the term for the APR, the lease amount, the bonus, planned payment and the total payment. Let's just correct that. Now we know that the first 3 are going to be inputs. We've been using a yellow highlight so far to indicate input. And let's have a look at the data we need to have in there. So we need to have a term of 4 years. We need to know what the units are, so let's put the word years there. An APR of 13.5%. and a lease amount of 16,500, and let's format all of these as currency. There we go. So we now need to do our calculations. So the first calculation is going to be our planned payment. So let's go for it. We'll use the FX button and we're going to search for the PMT function. And the first thing that we need to put in is the rate. That's the percentage rate. Now remember, this rate is actually the one that we need for every 2 months. So it's not the one for the whole year. So we need to divide this by 6 to give us every 2 months. That's an annual rate divided by 6. So if we don't divide, it's 135, 0.135, divide by 6, and we now get a new figure. NPER is the number of payments, the total number of payments for this lease. So that is going to be the term of the lease multiplied by 6 payments per year. So we can see here there will be 24 payments if we have a 4-year lease. PV, that's the present value, or what really we want to know as the lease amount, what we start with and how much has got to be paid off. If we click on OK now, this is going to tell us that we'll be making payments that are £897.27 every 2 months. Now we've got our function here, but it needs to be rounded down to 2 decimal places. We can't just rely on formatting as 2 decimal places because the 3rd and 4th and 5th decimal place will still be there. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a round down function around this value of the PMT, the whole function, and we're going to round it down. So if I put comma 2, that will round that whole response there to 2 decimal places. Okay, so that is now rounded down to the nearest 2nd decimal place. We also want it to be a positive number, so we know what the planned payments are. Now what we could do is we could multiply by 1, minus 1 times will give us a response. Or there is actually a function that we can use called abs, and if we put everything inside brackets for an absolute, it will give us an absolute value. There we go, £897.27. Right, the other 2 functions are quite easy. So the bonus is going to be the planned payment times 20%. So that's multiplied by 0.2, or times 20 divided by 100. The total is going to be the sum of these 2. So it's going to be that one plus this one. There we go. Now let's just change this so that we've got proper currency and it's all consistent. And now we're ready to print. Remember, before you print, to put row and column headings. I'm just going to remind you and show you a way of doing that. That here we can select print titles, click on print titles, and choose row and column headings. Or under headings here, just click on print, and that will also print the row and column headings.